Welcome back. This conversation is for those of us who have been touched by something that someone else has said to us, touched something that someone else has said that has touched something in us that really, really, really wanted our attention. So I've shared previously that I tutor mostly adults who are learning English, and my students have a range of skill level from very, very beginner to very advanced students who want to maintain their skill. And some of them want to learn how to express themselves, like these philosophical ideas, these emotional ideas, these very personal, very nuanced, subjective ways of experiencing the world. They want to explain it through English in a way that feels natural to them. And so I get to have some incredible conversations. And I think I said the majority of my students are adults. I do occasionally have high school students and some university students who come in who are also very intelligent, very thoughtful people for the most part. So this week, I spoke with a student for the first time, someone I had not met before. And there are moments when someone will come into the classroom, and these are virtual classrooms, and I will feel right away, I will feel my insecurity about my intellectual capacity coming up. And I think in my 20s and my 30s, I was very, very, very good at having philosophical conversations. I had a lot of questions. I read a lot. I thought a lot. And my thinking was, when I say it was clear, I had conviction about things, whether it was the questions that I wanted to find answers to or the answers that I thought I had. I had a sense of conviction. So there was clarity in my expression and um, clarity in my expression. I don't know what the other word was that I was going for. Even though looking back on it from this perspective, this many years further down the road, there was just a lot that I didn't understand, wasn't aware of. You know, we're completely different people in our teens, our 20s, our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and hundreds. Um, so when this man came into the classroom, we spent a little bit of time talking about the trees in our yard and the areas of our countries that we live in. There's a little bit of getting to know you and just getting a sense of the tone of the individuals in the class together. And somehow, some way, we got into films. And he initiated the conversation. I don't know if he asked what kind of movies I liked, and there was a distinction between movie and film. And so I'm sharing these things in detail, partly because I need to talk these things out. I have been trying to figure my life out all by myself for a number of years now, and it is just not working. I'm spinning in circles, chewing on my own tail, and I really need to be able to get these things out. I have been so shy and resistant to the idea of this because having a journal open in this way for just any old person to come along and rifle through it has just felt like the worst idea to me. However, I am currently hyper aware that my invisibility cloak is smothering me. So there was a time when I had a lot more interaction with the external world. and I'm not quite sure why or when or where my tolerance for being seen externally diminished, but it has. So there is a distinction between film and movie, and we discussed it because the films that this man was asking me if I had seen were not movies. They were like what some people would have called art films back in my 20s and 30s. And I know this because I was married to a film major and I grew up with a movie buff. So I experienced both realities, both perspectives, both philosophies on entertainment and engaging provocative thought. And we went back and forth. Of course, Akira Kurosawa came up, and of course, I've only watched a few Akira movies, and this man's preference was it wasn't the first Akira movie, but it was the movie from 1975 that I do not know how to pronounce. It's a two-word movie. Those of you who love films, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So this is the tone of this conversation. He's He's um so he's a man with European sensibilities, which this particular sensibility was more reserved, quiet. He was a very quiet man. Um, Lived removed from the busy city and in a very quiet place with his own energy sources, like the dream. And I explained to him, a lot of Americans are like fantasizing, drooling for that experience right now. So the conversation, it went back and forth like this for some time on, do we watch things? And then it moved into, do I read books? Because I had explained to him there was a time when I watched a lot of movies, and that's how we got into being raised in a movie watching household where we would get up and do that midnight movie. When I was older as a teen, my friends and I would stand in line at 10:30 or whatever time it would be when the new Batman premiere would come out, or whatever was coming out that people were just losing their minds over. And we would stand in line and we would watch it, and there would be like a double feature. So we might roll out of there, I don't know, around 2 in the morning. I wasn't quite right. I don't remember how it works, guys. It's been a really long time. But there was a time when I was excited about movies. If anyone remembers the Apple movie option. So I had an Apple desktop once upon a time ago. And I remember sitting there with my remote. And I just loved this feature on the Apple screen. And I would just watch trailer after trailer after trailer because that's what I did growing up. My father encouraged us to watch the trailers of the movie. We were excited to see the trailers. So movies have been a big part of my life, and I stopped watching them. Films were a big part of my life because I married someone for whom they were very important. But to be completely honest, and this is part of what came up towards the end of this conversation for me, that is part of the struggle that I'm working with right now. But to be completely honest, I enjoy being entertained. I like no. When I was a movie person, I loved blockbusters, and I felt no shame in it until I did, around certain people who thought, can't have too much fun in the theater. Anyway, I didn't worry about it a lot. I definitely I have no issues right now to this day saying I have enjoyed most of the Marvel movies. And if I were in a movie going mood, I would be excited about whatever's coming out. There's several things coming out that some of my other students have reminded me of. Someone in Turkey reminded me of the Backroom movie, and she explained to me that some years ago there was a meme going around the world about this backroom concept, and so now there's this movie, and I had actually seen a couple of previews. I missed the meme, um, which might be part of my struggle right now to figure out what my place is in life. That's like the underlying, and that has been an underlying theme in my life. It's just I have been stripped down so completely that it's one of the things that I just keep coming back to. It's not covered up by a business or my relationship and responsibilities to clients or to a marriage relationship or to a long-term partner after the marriage, things like this. So this conversation is continuing like this. I explained to this man one of the reasons why I think I withdrew from movie going. And it had to do with the violence that is just out there or has been out there in our country. I loved the theater so much that the idea of shootings happening in theaters, I just was not able to be comfortable with that. And that is when I started withdrawing from my theater going. I think the last time that I was in a theater watching a movie was the second Black Panther, which I loved. It was wonderful. A little theater in Florida. And yeah, I don't think I've seen anything in the theater since. And I don't miss it. That's the thing, I don't miss it. But from there, with with the things that I had said to this person so far, he took a pause in the conversation and he said, there's this author, and he was working on recalling the author's name. There's this author who says there are only two kinds of people in the world. And he said, there are the people who live their lives, and there are the people who observe and think about the people who are living their lives. And I thought for sure I knew which person he was going to tell me that I was, because I grew up hearing that I was an observer. I think too much. You think too much, Nikaya. You're an observer. And I don't disagree with that. I don't argue with that. It is very true. However, what I have been struggling with, and I recognized it when this man said to me, it sounds like you are living your life. And I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that assessment at all. One of the other reasons why I explained to him, I think I've stopped going to the movies, is because my life has been full and rich, and I don't have a lot of patience for being entertained by these things right now. I just don't have a lot of patience to sit in a theater or go watch someone else doing things. And I felt that as a deficit because I grew up with this and I loved it. And I still think that stories are fantastic. So I've just been very confused by this turn in development. But when he presented, and I didn't speak with him about my confusion. I just said, I don't feel I have the patience to go sit and watch somebody else on a screen right now. And his reflection back to me was, you are falling in the category of the people who are living their lives, which I had not considered for myself. I had not seen myself in this way. And it really, in that moment, helped me have compassion for the struggle that I've been feeling. So here I am sitting with this man who reads. So the book was by Thomas Mann, Mann. And it's a novella called Tonio Kroger. I'm sorry, guys. I think that might be a German name, and all of my German language skills are completely gone. They pretty much left me when we came back to the States. So if somebody knows how to pronounce that correctly or has more information on Thomas Mann, I pulled up the Wikipedia page, but that's the novella if you'd like to go read it. Uh, it's 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 not a story that I feel like reading right now, but it is a short story, and um, I'm speaking to at least some readers right now. So I I felt seen in a way, or an area of my life that I have not ever felt seen, because I do feel like, yes, I think a lot about a lot of things, so much so that it is debilitating for me and what I need to do with my life. Um, yes, my thinking capacity it can be debilitating often. And also, I live like the what I am experiencing. I've had, first of all, so many experiences, and often coming at them, perhaps not often, but there's a fair amount of haphazardness to them. Certainly, if someone's looking at it from the outside world, and certainly if someone is a planner, the way that I live my life and the way that I get things done experience wise in my life, there's I am definitely more of a follow my feelings and my gut instincts and my intuitive direction than sitting down and planning this out and knowing how I'm going to get from A to B to C. My mind doesn't really operate in that linear way in many things. So to have somebody across the world listen to just this small amount of things that I'm saying, because I'm saying more to you than I did to this student, you know, um, so much of what I say to my students is in service to the conversation and helping us develop vocabulary and helping us um, understand what it is we're really trying to say. And are we saying it with the right grammar structure and things like this? Um, but you guys, we're on the therapy couch right now, and we're doing a poetry reading and all this good stuff all right now. Um, I first of all have been working on integration all of my life. So I had an experience with um, a counselor many years ago, still in my 20s. And this individual said to me, you have um, patterns in you that from the outside will look like you are dealing with polarized opposites. But one of the themes and threads of your life is that you are someone who is meant to integrate things that seem to be in opposition to one another. So to be very plain about it, like, this is black, this is white. My job is to integrate these two things that to the outside world, they look incompatible, polarized, Democrats and Republicans, the religious and the not religious, like whatever the extreme polarities are. I have had a life where I have been confronted with, are they like, how do these things actually go together? And I used to do it naturally. Right now, at this stage and season of my life, I seem to be um, in the course of my life, and I offer this to you as well. In the course of our lives, the experiences that we have, if we wish to engage them directly, they can teach us skills. I'm going to say the words just like if we were on a job, but actually superior to the skills that we could learn on the job, because it's a 24/7 cycle. If we take the job and place it within the context of our life instead of what we have been trained and conditioned to do, like the job is separate and then the life is what we get to do with the rest of the time when the job's not happening. If we actually bring the job and the life together, everything that comes into our experience at all times is an opportunity to refine a skill, learn a skill, um, put things down in terms of habits and ways of thinking that are not serving us anymore, and be exposed to habits and ways of thinking that would benefit us. And then, just like exercise, which I also seem to be refusing to do right now, just like exercise, it's the commitment of showing up for the practice that helps us develop the new skill that then gives us a new vantage point in life. So I understand this, and I have lived the majority of my life this way. I am in a season of life that is just incredibly difficult for me and for a lot of people. I'm actually coming across a lot of folks in their, whatever this is, 50s. It's people who are, what I'm saying is, there's the chronological age. There's also people who are experiencing divorce, people who have lost jobs, people whose children have moved out, or people who have lost someone has died, someone who has moved to a new country. What I'm saying is, in these periods of transition, it doesn't matter what the age is. And there are people, it seems like a lot of people perhaps, who are talking about being in this experience of having lost that sense of clear directionality in life, and even in the sense of, how do I do life? What is my personality? My personality used to be this. My response time used to be this. My ability to respond used to be this. My ability to create in like 24 hours and change the course of my life used to be this. But for some reason, and I'm not speaking of just myself, but I am speaking of myself, for some reason, it's not working like that right now. My brain's not working like that right now. My connections are not working like that right now. My friendships, I can't even tell what's going on with my friendships. I'm speaking of myself, and I'm also speaking of the people, the conversations that I've been a participant in, and what is coming across various feeds that I have out there. And yeah, we could say it's the algorithm, and I'm tuned into a very particular algorithm. This is true. It's also true that there's something in this experience for all of us that some of us are hyper focused on. And so again, if we go back to this job idea, if you locate yourself within a workspace, groups of people have different assignments, different skill sets, specialties, training, education, capacities. It may be that those of us who are in the department of deep and blind transformation, like cannot see where we're headed, we are doing this work on behalf of the rest of our work team, who are assigned other positions, other roles, responsibilities, other departments. That's one way to look at it. And I offer that to you because I find that when I can reframe my experience from whatever dog-eared, hyperventilating and hyperfixated crisis my overthinking mind can throw myself into, when I'm able to reframe it into something I can actually work with creatively in my dream state, from a lighthearted place, there's a little bit of movement that can happen, if not a lot of movement. And so I offer this to you as well. I have said this in recordings before. When I speak into these podcasts, into these videos, even when I'm writing, I am returning back, this part I have not said, I am returning back to talking about what I want to talk about. I'm not interested in listing out bullet points and 10 ways to do this. My brain does not work in that way. Now, I can run it through a program and ask the program to summarize some things for me and help me pop some things back out into the larger community that other people can wrap their brains around. But my way of sharing information and hopefully getting back into teaching this esoteric, pathless path type of information is to share the way that my teachers shared. They would share experiences that they had. They would share things that some of their teachers had said, or something that they had read, or if they had a system, they would present the system, but they would still present the system within the context of their own life. This orientation towards removing ourself as the person bringing the information forward, or channeling or carrying the conversation, this push that the sales industry and marketing industry has laid down on everyone to only focus on the external. I think people are getting bored with that. I think it's feeling very, very dry and crispy to a lot of people. And it's not effective. It's not an effective way for me to share. Now, where I'm feeling stuck and where this man's comment to me about being someone who, at least in present time, is just living my life, which to me brought tears to my eyes for being recognized. And also the part of me that fears that this means that I'm not intelligent anymore. I've had this fear for several years now. Like when my brain started breaking, I really, really questioned my intelligence, which I had never questioned before. I had known there are people out there in the world who are far superior in their intelligence than I will ever be, but I wasn't concerned about that. I knew I could hold my own. But when I started forgetting words, and I could cry now, when I couldn't connect my thoughts, when there was a time when thoughts would just connect like over the entire world and then out into the galaxy, I could make, like, it's not even that I was carrying a thread of thought. I could just, the connections would just keep coming. And then I would be able to pull something from that, put it into a container that I could share with other people and sometimes be paid for. And we're all existing in a marketplace. I have to find ways to continue to support myself and to continue to at least make myself available for provisions. And so this ability to create containers and material that is valuable to other people, it's very important to me. I employ myself, and so I need these resources, but I haven't been able to figure out what it is, first of all, that I carry and can share at this stage, and what it is that people need and want. So I have been living my life. My life has been like the folks who are into minimalism. I am living that life. And it's terrifying. There is a lot of quiet in my life. There is a lot of solitude. And when, like, I would even say prior to 2023, I was completely okay with solitude. I was completely okay with spending days and days and days on end alone in my own company. But the past few years, it has become increasingly difficult to be okay with that. And I have a beautiful place that I'm currently in right now that other people have. Like, people have made the effort to come to this place to get away from other places. Like, I am living a version of life that many people say they'd want to have, but the actual doing it, there aren't that many people who would have the tolerance for it. Although I do see more and more people who are out there sharing their stories of they left this or the thing left them. They made changes. They are simplifying. They are stepping out on faith that they can make their life work. They can patch it together or cobble it together without needing the standard recognized weekly, bi-weekly, monthly paycheck. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I've actually tried a number of times to get back to an actual paycheck, and that just does not seem to be the doors that are open for me. Um, I recently had an interview with a company that would have been lovely to work with. And the very first thing the woman said, and she was real excited about it too. She's like, I've read your resume and I am really impressed. It's so impressive. And so that's just to say there was a time when I fit into the world like that, but I don't. I don't. Um, and the world that we are creating is still unformed. And so, any of us in any capacity who are brave enough to step out and try to create new worlds for ourselves, I would like to say that I see us, even though I don't necessarily see you with my two eyes. And it is a tremendously challenging body of work to do this, because, or at least in part because, we cannot see what we're doing. And the world is still saying that in order to be a real world and a functional world, it has to look and be and feel like this thing over here that we're all watching disintegrate on so many levels. And I don't say that to add anxiety. I'm really acknowledging, yeah, that thing is coming down. And there was a time when I thought I was prepared for it, again, in my teens, 20s, 30s, and 40s. But now that we are in it, I feel fearful. I feel fear often, very close up, in ways that I have not been able to ignore or talk myself out of. Like, it is overwhelming. It brings me to tears on a regular basis. And I often confront this story that I have of being helpless. And I'm not entirely sure where that comes from. But again, this man reflecting to me in the Thomas Mann world, at this time in my life, I would fall into the category of someone who's living life rather than thinking about it. It is so true. And I'm doing it in a very unplanned, unpredictable way. Like that, I really do believe that that is what life is. Life is the thing that shows up at our doorstep, at our bedside, right beside us as we're walking through the world of our daily lives. Life is what shows up in the moments of our life. It is not the thing that we're planning. And it's not, it can be a version of life, and it certainly helps to have all of the structures in place. Oh my God. That definitely helps to have the structure of material stability in place, and familial stability, and love stability, and friendship, community stability. But for so many people out there, that is not the reality. And I want to say to those of us who are exploring and experimenting with this version of life, this is also a real thing. We are also doing real work. We are also contributing something genuine to the fabric of life. This new thing, creation, reality that we are all contributing to right now. So, my message for you out there is that a lot of what we're building in life, if we are actively engaged with our lives, whether it's out on view for other people or privately to ourselves and a very select few, whatever it is we're doing as part of our active engagement, our daily practices with life, our work, our individual life work is contributing to the story that we are currently writing right now. And I suspect that for those of us who are feeling very isolated, very lonely, with a lot of odds stacked against us, whatever that might be for you, and for some of us, it's a lot of internal odds that seem insurmountable, you know? Um, I suspect that one of the things that we need to become comfortable with is being visible in some kind of way, of telling our story, of sharing our experiences, of asking for, when I say help, it's really to be supported in community. It doesn't have to be something specific beyond being welcomed into and held, having a space held for us in the community so that we don't feel like we're out here on our own doing things, trying to pull our lives together by ourselves. So go get you a friend group. Meetup.com is an interesting place to meet people and develop some skills, some new skills, or practice some old skills. Um, you know, I I enjoy watching YouTube channels, creators on YouTube, and that is my new cinema these days. And there is a creator in China, and I had wondered this about her. So she's taking people around her city. I think she lives in Shenzhen, and just showing people what it's like to live in China. And I feel like, as a Westerner, I need to, it's incredibly helpful to watch people telling their own story, always, 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 always. And I've watched enough videos of her now where her reach has grown way beyond what she thought. And her reason for starting the channel in the first place is something that I have suggested to my language students in the past. When we want to learn a new skill and when we'd rather not feel so lonely, inviting other people into our experience is a way of addressing both of those challenges. And so she wanted to develop her English skills. She wanted to practice her English skills. And so she's doing that in a very public way. Her channel is reaching people all around the world. If you go into the comments, you can just watch people interacting with her from all around the world. And she did it to practice a skill that a lot of people feel very insecure about. And I will talk about this in another episode, what it is to learn a skill, to practice a skill, to speak that skill out loud in a country, and how I think that folks in the United States of America can do a better job of welcoming people into our language, because we recognize what a challenge it is to be learning and speaking and showing up in that way in the first place. But that's a conversation for another day. This woman is out there practicing her skill and impacting other people, educating people, inspiring people, because she took a skill that she wanted to continue to develop and decided to put herself on display, make it visible, her practice, to a wider audience. And I know that there are those of us out there who are learning things, who are building things, developing things, asking questions, encouraging people. I know there are people out here doing this kind of work who would benefit from making yourself available to other people. I need to do this myself. I'm saying this for myself. I'm also saying this to you to encourage you to be someone who gets out there and interacts with the world, the external world, as well as interacting with our internal world. Okay, thank you for listening. I'll give you another little suggestion. So for those of you who like to write, who might feel blocked when you sit down at the page to write, over the years, I have discovered that speaking into voice notes or a podcast situation like this is a great way to, first of all, let your mind move. It's for a lot of us easier to let the mind and the mouth move than to let the mind and the hand move. But after you've let the mind and the mouth move, you can go back in and pick out some of those themes and threads that you'd like to write on. And you can write essays, you can write poems, songs, phrases, titles to things. You can let the voice support your writing practice. So if that's been a struggle for you to figure out what to write about, let yourself ramble into a voice note for a while, or even a podcast, and then take some of that material out and let that be the writing that you focus on. I could probably get a month's worth of writing just out of this ramble that I just did, if I allowed myself to go back through and tune in to some of the things that I'm saying. So there's a little creative suggestion for you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.